From WDWNT, the worldwide leader in Disney Parks news, this is ParksCenter. Hello there, everybody, and welcome to tonight's edition of ParksCenter. My name's Ben, and joining me we have Allison.
Hello, everyone.
Jill.
Hello.
Rob.
What's up, guys?
And Pete.
Sivako, wash thy hands.
Oh gosh, now you're going to need me to translate that into Navi at some point. Check out my Twitter later for that one. Let's cover what we actually came here for. Let's talk about March Madness for a bit. So if you haven't watched any of our shows or News Tonight shows for the past week and a half, you are missing out. We are running a tournament covering 64 attractions that were never built in the Walt Disney Parks, and we are trying to rank them all in 1v1 fights to see who comes out on top. And this past week we just had our round 2. This is your last chance to quit before we get into spoilers, so if you want to check it out, head out now.
Okay, good night.
Otherwise, 3, 2, 1.
See you later.
All right, our round 1 results. We had, or not round 1, but bracket 1, I guess I should say. We had Western River Expedition, Fantasia Gardens, Mount Fuji Roller Coaster, and Atlantis Expedition all moving on to the next round. With this being the end of the run for Plectus, Toontown Transit Simulator, Museum of the Weird, and the Rhine River Cruise. Plectus is over. Team Plectus has lost it in round 2. The run is dead. Really?
Yeah. Yeah, no, thank goodness. Tom was about to have a grassroots upset of this entire thing because Western River is destined to win this thing. So the idea that he wanted to replace what would probably today be an outdated Chuck E. Cheese show versus like a huge like Pirates of the Caribbean but with cowboys, that shouldn't have happened, and I'm glad it didn't. So Western all the way, and I'm glad Plec 2 is over so we can go ahead and focus on the good stuff.
Rob, are you saying that Western River winning this is manifest destiny?
Yes. Yep. That's what it is. It's already predetermined unless something else happens. I mean, it's the best. See, to me, one of the problems with this whole tournament is that we are very passionate about other things. We're passionate about quick service, our favorite quick service. We're passionate about our favorite attractions that exist that we've ridden since we were kids. When you're talking about some of these things that no one's ever heard of ever, and we throw them in here and then fight over which one we think would be better, it's kind of crazy to me. I mean, I love it. I love learning about all these things that could have been. Some of them I'm sad that never happened, and some of them I'm like, okay, I see why that didn't happen. But when we're fighting over this, we don't really have passion over it. I still have passion over Western River because it is one of like the OG this didn't get built attractions. And so for me, not only is it great in scope and scale and Mark Davis, but the idea that this is like one that has been on the drawing boards, that were models made of it, that they've talked about. I mean, this one has to win.
That is a good argument. Good grief.
It also, and I agree with Rob, like he said a lot of stuff I wanted to say, but like that again is a ride that can stand the test of time. What? Am I there? Oh.
You're here. You're good.
Yeah. Is that a ride? That is a ride that could be here. Like, obviously it would still be relevant. People would still be going on it. To me, it's like a big Thunder Mountain. Like, that will never be out of style, at least not for another 20 years. I mean, that is going to be that 75-year ride. I totally agree. I want this to go very deep.
Yeah, I think this should be final 2 for sure.
Has brought with it like the least number of surprises so far in this tournament. Like pretty much everything here is exactly as I expected, except that Plectu gave Western River way too much of a run for its money. 29 to 22. It's like, in no universe should that have been the case. It should have been a runaway. But like, fine, the ultimate outcome, the correct came out of this. The only thing that I thought might be like justifiably close is the Rhine River Cruise with Atlantis, and that's just because people have really heard of the Rhine River Cruise. But I think a lot of the people that are voting in this are similar to me and of a similar generation, where we have a soft spot for the Atlantis movie, and we have a soft spot for that steampunk aesthetic in the parks, and so ultimately I think that's why it edged it out. But other than that, like, no real surprises here.
I found it interesting that every single panel vote in this bracket was 25-20. Like, every single thing for the panel won 5-4. And for some things, I kind of get that. Like, I think for Fantasia Gardens versus Toontown, that made sense. But other things like Western River and Mount Fuji, I was kind of pretty stunned. Like, you've got Mount Fuji, which A, would have been this awesome ride, and B, is pretty storied in the history of stuff that didn't get built, up against Museum of the Weird. And it's just like, why was that only 5-4? Why did 4 people vote for that over Mount Fuji? Yep. Although that also brought one of my favorite references of the night, that Josh basically compared WDW News Tonight to Museum of the Weird.
That was pretty accurate. Like, that's...
Yeah.
Bunch of different random things. You walk around and see it all, and you just come out going, what?
What did I just... Where was I just now? Did I just take drugs? I'm not sure.
The only other thing I really have in my notes about this chunk of the bracket is that if I'm not mistaken, this was the first ever WDWNT recount, and it did in fact come up that we had the results wrong. So thank you in chat for paying attention to that one.
Was that the Fantasia Gardens one?
I think so. It was one of the first ones they did.
Yeah. No. This is totally no offense to your brother, but he was like all over the place during this whole thing. I mean, sometimes I saw him yawning.
Okay, you can't say that in fairness. When Jessica actually said, "What bracket are we in again?"
Yes.
You can't call my brother out when Jessica didn't even know what bracket we were talking about.
Mm-hmm. No, I'm not saying it like in a bad way, but like almost on the whole, he was using some funny, like his humor was like on point during the night, very subtle. It was kind of awesome, where he was saying like, "I don't like roller coasters," and then near the end, he's like, I could really use a roller coaster, and some of the stuff. I mean, I don't know. I'm not putting him down at all. I just think he was kind of all over the place. Sometimes he was way into it, and sometimes he wasn't. Sometimes he was dropping jokes. Sometimes he was like slamming other people. As a matter of fact, I think he came at Jessica once, didn't he? I feel like.
Yes.
Oh,
yes,
like she was on mute all the time. Yeah.
Gosh.
So.
Yeah. What am I?
Yes, I believe it was something like Jessica is paying as much attention to this competition as she did to the dating game. I believe that's what
that was the shot.
Was it on purpose when they cut away from the dating game and went straight to her? I mean, that can't be an accident, right? Yeah, I felt like she seemed a little targeted on that one. Is that what millennials say when they feel like they were targeted? Okay, sorry. Withdrawn.
Speaking of things Jason was saying, though, let's move real quick into the second bracket here, where Jason said that shooting kids with fireworks is worse than shooting kids with guns, apparently, when discussing the Fort Wilderness Funhouse versus the Fireworks Factory. Thankfully, Fort Wilderness Funhouse came on top there.
Yes,
we have
Team Fort Wilderness Funhouse.
Yeah, that was a bit of a surprise. I'm going to come back to the rest of the bracket in a second. I was very surprised at how decisive that victory was. 40-5 in favor of Funhouse.
Yeah, but look what it was up against. I think that's really what it is. But I mean, in my heart, I feel like this should go all the way. Yes, obviously Western River or Fire Mountain or something that's like people really have long wanted this to happen. This is the first time I'd ever heard of the Fort Wilderness Funhouse, and I'm obsessed with the concept. And I don't know why I am when I am completely repulsed by the idea of Museum of the Weird. Not really that different a concept, but I think I like Fort Wilderness, and I think that that setting makes it special. And Mark Davis, obviously.
I thought was interesting that Jason brought up during this one was he said that this could have been the beginning of attractions being at resorts. And I was thinking, oh my God, yes, I want that. Like that should be a thing. I mean, you have these huge event style pools at the resort, but to have some sort of an actual attraction at a resort, that would be a game changer. So, I mean, that is an exciting thing to say. Although, Allison, I do not want this thing to go any further because it took out Critter Country 500, and I'm still like a little bit bitter about that one. It shouldn't have been Critter Country 500.
It was so good.
My two favorite things about this particular matchup were Katie saying, Funhouse is stupid enough to be fun. And everyone else basically saying that should be the new WDW News Tonight tagline. And the other thing I loved was Jason saying, I don't think they'd charge you for it. And Josh just bursting out cackling laughter in response to that. Like, those were my two favorite moments of this conversation on the panel that were just, priceless.
I was really happy for the moment where they brought up Runaway Baby Buggy killing Denmark in round 1. Like the fact that they referenced us in the fact that we called them out on killing every Epcot pavilion in round 1. Yeah.
I'm going to bring that up later because I have a serious issue with that.
I do too. Hopefully it's the same one. We'll find out.
Okay. I'll save that for the Disney's America bracket or the Port Disney bracket because that's where it came up. And yeah, I have a serious issue with that.
For any of you that are participating in March Madness and you have not used your call-in yet, use it on. Please use it on Fort Wilderness Funhouse. There's no more Team Plectu, so call in. I understand that you're sore about Critter Country 500, but we've got to move past it. And now, it's like when a team plays really well and they beat your team, and you're like, they kind of deserve it. That's what Fort Wilderness Funhouse is. So use your call-in for that. That's it. That's my plug.
You know what, though? I mean, we're going to talk about this later, but it is not going to be that Great Muppet Movie Ride. That's going to be the end of it.
I'm going to be so upset if Great Muppet Movie Ride loses it here. There's no way that it's losing to that.
Yeah. Do you remember what seed that was to start with?
What Muppet Movie Ride?
Yeah.
No, I don't. It looks like it was a 2 seed, I think, if I'm reading this bracket right.
Sorry, yes, it was a 2 seed.
Yeah.
It was a 2 seed, and the Funhouse was an 11 seed.
Well, that would be your old Cinderella story.
Yeah, no, I can't see. I mean, you would need a lot of audience call-ins. I will be surprised if more than 2 people on the panel vote for Funhouse up against Great Muppet Movie Ride. I don't see it happening.
Yeah.
That's why we need you to call in.
Yeah.
If Tom couldn't save Plectu against Western River, I don't think that I have to say, for as much as Tom was # Team Plectu, there was not a single audience call-in for Plectu.
There really wasn't.
So I don't think that's
I like that. So what's he going to hang his hat on now? I mean, at this point, it's just going to be, if it goes to Allison, like you said, whoever beat my team is the one I want to go all the way. He's going to have to be Western River the whole time, right?
Maybe.
I mean, because
I don't know.
I could see him doing that.
I feel like he's going to go hard on Mel Brooks.
Against or for?
4.
4.
Yeah, okay.
4, yeah. On that side of the bracket, I see him going hard for Mel Brooks. I feel like Tom wants it. I'm curious what's going to happen for Tom if it goes Dick Tracy up against Matterhorn.
Oh my gosh!
In the Port Disney bracket.
That's his other one.
He's clearly very passionate about both of those things.
Yeah.
Oh, let's jump over to that chunk of the bracket here. So that's going to be our third chunk. We have, moving on, Dick Tracy's Crime Stoppers and the Matterhorn, along with Space Station Earth and We the People. Again, Muppets moving forward. This being the end of the run for Circus Disney, the Land Balloon Ride, Castle Young Frankenstein, unfortunately for me, and Geyser Mountain. I am honestly surprised that Geyser Mountain got as much traction as it did. That was a 32-25 fight. I was not expecting that to be close at all. I'm very afraid for Muppets moving forward here. If they're going to be fighting the Matterhorn next round, it's going to be a slam dunk on them, and I don't want to see that.
I think it was Nathan said something about there being like 2 Muppet rides, or Muppet attractions, and he was going really more for the Muppet attraction, the Great Muppet Movie Ride, which I agree with. But the difference to me is that, and again, I talked about this last week, that I have a lot of passion about Disney's America that never happened, and so this would have been perfect for that attraction, that area. So the idea of thinking of it as a standalone, a ride versus a show, basically, I mean, it doesn't quite fit, but when you think about it in the place where it was supposed to be, then it makes sense. And I think a lot of the battles have been like that. People are, some people are looking at it going, well, it would have been overlaid by now, so I'm not going to vote for it. Or we don't need 2 of those. Or we already have this, so we don't need that. Or if that existed, then this wouldn't have. And they said that about Geyser Mountain. Like, if that had existed, then maybe Twilight Zone Tower of Terror wouldn't. But I think that, if we're going to look at this, like, we need to look at where this was going to be and what it was supposed to, like, the need it was filling. In this one, We the People, the Muppets explaining, the whole, like, immigration thing would have been just perfect for that park. But take it out of that, and I don't think it makes as much sense. And to your point, it probably won't move on.
Yeah, I absolutely don't see Matterhorn losing to We the People. I mean, We the People was too close of a vote. Matterhorn was kind of a runaway. I don't see, based on what the panel was discussing, not enough people had passion for this Muppets attraction. People have a lot of passion, I think, for the Muppet Movie Ride, but I don't think they have as much passion for this, and so it's not going to stand out. Tom is clearly crazed about the secret Swiss bobsled training facility. But can we have this conversation about the pavilion?
Yes,
because
please.
Everything. Okay, Tom, I said on our show last week, I said they knocked out every single pavilion in this tournament because everything that was listed in the bracket as a pavilion was knocked out of this tournament. The Matterhorn was listed as the Matterhorn, as this Swiss bobsled training ride. It was not listed as the Switzerland Pavilion. There was no Switzerland Pavilion discussion. Josh is talking about fondue restaurants. That's not what's in the bracket. What is in the bracket is the Matterhorn ride. Every other pavilion that was discussed in totality as everything it was going to offer. Shopping, restaurants, if it had an attraction or not. That was what the discussion was. This is just about the Matterhorn ride. So this is not about the Switzerland Pavilion. The Switzerland Pavilion is not what's in this competition. That's all. I'm arguing. Maybe it's semantics, but
no, that's verbatim what I
fair.
had in my notes for this. Is that was not the pavilion. That was a ride in the pavilion.
Right. And the only pavilion-related thing is a single attraction, when everything that was like a full pavilion with all the other offerings were eliminated. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
I think, though, so this bracket, though, I think has the most competitive matchup, the Dick Tracy's Crime Stoppers versus Space Station Earth, and I think it's going to break down along like a micro generation. So like anyone between the ages of like 32 and 42 are going to be like, oh, Dick Tracy's Crime Stoppers, and anyone younger and anyone older is going to be like, obviously like the Big Epcot thing.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's going to be a fun fight to watch.
Interesting. I find your specific age bracket because I fall right on the line, and I'm curious what, I don't know.
I mean, are you torn?
You're a Diffendall, and I kind of feel like that makes you want Space Station Earth.
Here's what upset me. I was really upset that the land balloons did not have more traction. I was actually really disappointed in my brother that he picked Space Station Earth over the land balloons. But and everybody picked Space Station Earth over the land balloons. However, there was not a lot of passion in that conversation, I feel like. Yeah. Like, people were like, yeah, a bigger spaceship Earth, joking about the giant Gutenberg again and the giant newsboy and whatever. I feel like there's a lot more passion in the Dick Tracy conversation. And so that's what I think is going to win this. But honestly, I think it's going to be Dick Tracy versus Matterhorn. I don't think Space Station Earth is going to make it through the next round.
So something that I think is fair to say though about the amount of effort put into this discussion. This was technically the last bracket chunk they discussed for the night, right? Like we're discussing these out of order from the order they discussed them in because we're going top to bottom on our bracket that we've got in front of us. But this was very late in the night, and also worth noting, 3 out of 4 of these were 40 to 5 before call-ins. Like this bracket, I think, is just kind of unfortunately like the sleepy bracket because it's so late that everybody is like worn out and just wants to end it. I think that's going to be less of a problem, though, in the finals because at this point, everybody who's still around is going to be discussed earlier on in the night because there are so many fewer other fights to have. And then when we get to the finals, people are going to be high energy because it's the finals. So I don't think we're going to have any more about this.
But see, that's the thing, too. Again, back to the fact about the passion. Like, we don't have a lot of passion about these because we don't really know a lot about them. So I think a lot of people who are on the panel are just kind of going with, well, like in my mind, if I picture this, would I have liked this better or would I have liked that better? And not something where you have like an actual opinion on it because you lived it or because, most of these things, I bet a lot of people, including myself, some of these things I had never heard of. So I can't all of a sudden like really super care about something if I just, if all I know is the blurb on the website and a photo. And I think that's one of the problems that I have about Space Station Earth is that we don't know what that was supposed to be. Everybody's thinking it was just a larger version of Spaceship Earth that we have. But when you look at the concept art, it really was designed more as a pavilion, not as a ride or attraction, which kind of goes back to the whole thing of they're voting for it based on, is it a bigger version of the ride we have? But when you look at the concept art, it's inside the bubble and the big gold dome is there. And then underneath are like things and that are happening. And underneath the ball itself, there isn't like a place to go in to get on a ride. I mean, not that I've seen. So I've not heard anybody say this is actually going to be a ride. I think it's the joke or the concept that this could be a bigger version of what we have.
Can you imagine if Space Station Earth was like a 3 times longer version of Spaceship Earth? That's an hour, right? Do you want to ride Spaceship Earth for an hour?
That's what I'm saying. I thought Ellen was too short.
It's called Ellen's Energy Adventure in a Geosphere. I'm down for that.
I am too, actually.
Yeah, but I don't think that's what this was.
You want that.
What if it's a dining experience? Like you get on, and then an hour later, like you're done eating.
Like the Garden Grill.
Yeah, exactly. It's the Garden Grill on a people mover with tables, and like you go around, and like in all the different time periods you visit, you get like period authentic food and stuff like that. Like,
I mean, if it's family style, I'm in.
Yeah, like there you go.
If it's a different kitchen preparing it from the Garden Grill, 100%.
Yeah.
You slowly cruise by stuff and you just like take plates. It's like those sushi conveyor belts, but the opposite.
But you're the sushi.
On the conveyor belt and
International dim sum, little dishes.
I would actually be on board for that. Oh my God, can you imagine if it was like an international buffet? So you just got to try like different foods from different countries.
That would be the coolest thing. Okay. Oh my God.
So it's, again, Space Station, it says dedicated to the celebration of human achievement, namely technological innovation and international culture. The park would have been represented by Space Station Earth as the icon, but it doesn't say, again, when you look at the art, it doesn't say that it was going to be a ride. So back to your point about like Matterhorn being like, advertised as a ride rather than it being part of a pavilion. I just feel like people don't really even know what they're voting for here. But it sounds like, sounds like it's a 3 times larger space station that now we've decided has dining. So, let's go ahead and push it through to the final, right?
Oh God!
I don't think so. I still don't think it's going to beat Dick Tracy. I don't think that's how things are going to go down.
Dick Tracy in the concept, first of all, is more fleshed out, and secondly, it looks like it would have been a cooler attraction. Great movie ride with interactivity. I mean, I'd vote for that every day.
That's fair. And we've got one more chunk of bracket to look at here, if I can get things to cooperate. There we go. We have, moving on, the 1980 Space Pavilion in the closest fight of the tournament, I believe. the UK Enchanted Forest, Mel Brooks' golf cart ride, and Herbie the Love Bug dark ride, all going forward. The end of the road for the Mary Poppins dark ride, the Rainforest roller coaster, Bald Mountain, and Dragon Tower. I just have in my notes, springtime for Mel Brooks and Disney. That was just so good. Thank you, Nathan. I appreciate that. Oh, moi. Beautiful.
Okay.
So this, I feel like this is interesting because my opinion is that none of these attractions really deserve to get very far.
Whoa, no.
Whatever comes out of this bracket, no. Herbie is ridiculous. Herbie was a death trap.
Herbie, oh my gosh. If they could have made this happen,
someone would have lost a
limb. This would have been a game changer. No, it would have been a game changer. No. This would have redefined. First of all, Herbie's had a tough break.
Her legs are hanging out of the car when it separates, and then you want to bring it back together, and somebody's not going to get a leg chopped off.
Okay, maybe that wouldn't have happened, but everything else over there looked amazing, and the fact that this ride would have been based on Herbie, a huge dark ride, this is awesome. This should go all the way. It's better than I don't know what the 1980 Space Pavilion is going to be.
Both Herbie and I'm okay. Hot take. I'm glad Mary Poppins got knocked out because I think both Herbie and Mary Poppins, like the concept art looked awesome and all, but like there's no way they would have pulled off that ride technology. What you saw in the concept art never would have come to fruition. No, there's no carousel sailing off the horse sailing off the carousel through. They couldn't have made it happen. They never would have made it happen.
Like if you went through the Back to the Future they did with the Figment attraction, the original Figment attraction, and that carousel and how that thing worked, and then pushing people off and keeping them in there and moving them out, I feel like that's the base for that already. That's already going to happen. And because of the Figment attraction and how the original Journey into Imagination and how ahead of its time it was and how much technology that they actually created for that one, I feel like they could have made Herbie and or Mary Poppins work out this way. So I think that Mary Poppins would have been a fantastic attraction. I think they definitely could have used that technology that was already in place to make that happen. And we should just tear down that World Showplace and build it like right now.
So now I know why we had Alicia on Deep in the Plus this week.
Rob and I are not speaking over our differences of unbuilt attractions.
She's a queen of hot takes these days, so I'm just like, really? Come on.
No, I do think, however, based on A, the ridiculousness of the attraction, and B, the weird passion that people on the panel had for it, the matchup between the Mel Brooks golf cart ride and the Herbie ride is going to be the most dramatic conversation we see in the next round. Just because both of them are so ridiculous.
You know, I will say a lot of people have kind of put down Dragon Tower, and that's, again, goes back to the thing that I was talking about before about the most famously not done attractions. Western River Expedition, definitely. But Beastly Kingdom, you know, to me was one of those that, again, I mean, it made it to marketing for, and they've made Happy Meal toys about it. This, you know, there's still traces of it in the park. This is something that should have happened. And Tom said on the call that he was, I mean, on the panel, that he was glad that it didn't happen because Pandora is so much better than what this would have been. I kind of disagree on that. I think, yeah, exactly. I think Beastly Kingdom was in the original concepts they had for it would have been fantastic. And so I hate to see us turn down Dragon Tower just because it's one of these things where it's part of like this lore of what Beastly Kingdom was. And I think had it happened like the concept art, what they keep harping on is, well, you're a bat and you're a bat going through here, and maybe maybe that. I mean, that does seem like a thin premise, but again, so does the whole like secret bobsled training thing too. So maybe this would have been a premise that had it actually come off the table and into production, it would have changed a little bit. But you're flying through the air like a bat. That's actually kind of cool the way they fly. So I'm not sure I would hate that. But a lot of people that's what they keep going. I don't think I'd want to be a bat. So that, I'm not sure Dragon Tower makes it past Herbie in the next round, but I do think that, again, I have a lot of passion for that one because I've seen the concept art. I've looked at it for a while. I wished that it was there instead of Camp Mini Mickey. I love Pandora, but I would have loved for Beastly Kingdom to have existed, and this was part of that.
Yep.
Yeah, I get very frustrated by Tom's whole I'm glad Beastly Kingdom didn't exist and Pandora is better. Like, Beastly Kingdom could have been so cool. And I know he tries to argue that it already exists because all those people went to Universal and built kind of the same stuff at Universal.
No.
But it's not the same stuff. It's so not the same stuff. It would have been so much better if it had been built in Disney. Although I will say one of my favorite moments of the night was during this conversation when Eric said, we already have a grotesque creature sitting on piles of gold at Disney. We don't need another one, with a very thinly veiled reference to Bob Chapek that made me laugh a lot. So.
Yep, that's right. We stole things.
Thank you,
all
Ben.
worth it at that point.
Oh, gosh. And with that little interjection, I think that brings us to the end of round 2. So let's take a look at what is coming for round 3. This is going to be a little bit thinner at this point because we've lost a whole bunch of people. We've got Western River Expedition and Fantasia Gardens. We're just going to take these like one at a time here, I think. Is anybody going to stand up for Fantasia Gardens here, or is it just going to be River Expedition slams the door?
Not over Western River. Western River has got to go. Got to go through.
Yeah,
it's totally final 2, if not the winner.
Yeah, yes. I'm right there with you.
Mm-hmm.
The Mount Fuji roller coaster and the Atlantis Expedition. Now that one I think is actually going to be a bit more of an interesting fight.
I don't know, man. I think Fuji's going to run away with this.
Really?
I think Fuji should run away with it.
Atlantis
was not a new attraction. It was a reskin. It's just a reskin.
That's fair.
Of something beloved that we no longer have at Walt Disney World. Also, I think we're going to run into that same division with the micro generation I described earlier with Atlantis. But we'll see.
Well, a lot of people,
I think there's fairness to that.
A lot of people said, again, this is one that, they would have overlaid this already. And I agree with you, Jill. It was just an overlay. So, I mean, I want new things versus a modification. But I think that between the two of these, first of all, and I mentioned this on our first talk about this, is that Japan is such an amazing pavilion. It needs and deserves a main attraction. And the idea that you would have come in and this would have been such a beautiful thing to see across the lake or the lagoon, and that you could have then that it was indoors. That was the other thing too, because some of these roller coaster things, it bothers me how it would change the landscape of Epcot, because Epcot has like a tranquility to it. And I think if you have like this like the rainforest roller coaster running through in front of the land, I think you changed the whole feel of that park. And so the idea that Mount Fuji was going to be a roller coaster within, not like Expedition Everest where it comes out, but within the building, I think it would have been perfect there. I think Japan deserved to have one. And the same thing, this is a legendary attraction that had never been built. It's one that most people know was supposed to happen and didn't. So I think this one's got to go all the way.
Here's the other thing. So I'm a huge fan of Japanese woodblock prints, and Japanese woodblock print artists notoriously did multiple views of Mount Fuji. So it would be some sort of scene from a town or the countryside in Japan with Mount Fuji in the background, because Mount Fuji is like this central landmark that you can see from miles and miles away throughout the entire country. And I can just picture these woodblock style print art pieces that you'd be able to find at like Festival of the Arts that would be like 100 views of Mount Fuji from all around Epcot. And that's like a thing that I want in my life more than anything.
Oh, so, that's a cool idea.
Yeah, I want that.
Yeah, the idea of having the volcano in Adventureland too is sort of the same thing for me, is that I think it will change the landscape in such a way that's positive. I think they build a lot of behemoth things like the Grand Destino Tower, I think, is sort of a little bit eyesore because of the way that it changes the landscape of Disney. But I think building that volcano at around Seven Seas Lagoon and having it be an Adventureland attraction, but also part of the Polynesian in the landscape. I think the same thing for Mount Fuji. It would have been something that would have been just kind of breathtaking to be there, aside from the fact that it would have been a cool ride. So, I mean, again, that's one I wish had happened.
Let's see. The next one we've got is the Enchanted Snow Palace and the Island at the Top of the World. That just seems like a mess to me. Like, that's just going to be like two kids fighting with a pool noodle to me. Like I don't see.
What? Wait. Well, why?
Well, they're just like kind of flailing at each other and not really accomplishing anything. I'm not particularly excited about either of these.
Neither of them are going to go all the way, and so it's just like, how can you 6 of one, half dozen of the other, whichever one comes through. And I think 2 weeks from now, I'm not going to remember which one of them was in the finals.
Yeah.
I don't know. I disagree. I think there's been a lot of passion for Island at the Top of the World throughout this competition. I think Island at the Top of the World is going to run away with this. Like, Snow Palace has gotten farther than it probably deserved to, maybe. Yeah. I personally don't think Snow Palace should have beat Fire Mountain. I don't think that was the right call at
Agreed.
all. But there's been a lot of passion for Island at the Top of the World, and I'm going to run away with this. And I don't think it's going to beat Muppets in the next round, but I think it's not good. Muppets isn't going to clean sweep it either.
But you do think that Muppets is going to be the one that wins the next that chunk of the bracket up against the Fort Wilderness Funhouse?
Yeah, my call out of these, is Muppets is going to come out of this bracket.
Poor Allison, she wants it so badly.
Not a foregone conclusion. It's not a foregone conclusion.
It's not going to be the Funhouse, Allison.
It could happen. It could happen.
You know what's interesting to me is I would never have picked the.
Now, Rob, go ahead.
Oh, I would never have picked the Enchanted Snow Palace, but honestly, the conversations about it this time sort of won me over a little bit to it. Like the idea that it would have been that traditional animatronic ride through, and it could have been, something that they, that was like an It's a Small World that maybe would have like a bigger life because it was an original IP type of thing, and the Mark Davis, stuff associated with it too, definitely gave it some clout. So I had kind of dismissed this one as well, just because everything kind of looked sort of meh in the concept art. But it kind of won me over a little bit. But Island at the Top of the World, that goes back to sort of like the Beastly Kingdom thing. The history behind this being unbuilt is like unprecedented, and like this whole, the whole area that it would have been, the Discovery Bay, would have been amazing to see come to fruition. And everybody loves steampunk, at least most people do, right?
Yeah, that's fair. Like that was how Atlantis got a lot of traction with what it was doing too. So that makes sense. Yeah. Our third chunk here, we've got Dick Tracy's Crime Stoppers and Spaceship Earth, or Space Station Earth. Sorry about that. This is going to be Crime Stoppers, right? Like we had a little bit of discussion about how it's going to be like an age gap thing.
But yeah. I think it'll be close, but I think it will be Space Station, or I think it will be Crime Stoppers.
Yeah.
I think again, we knew what Dick Tracy was going to be because of all the concept art and all of it about like what is it? It's shooter. It's like kind of everything is explained to us. I don't think that people really understand what they're rooting for or voting for when they say Space Station Earth. I don't think they know. So I would rather go with Dick Tracy, even though I think it's a better attraction overall anyway. Especially
Rob, if you can hear me, you're having some connection issues, sir.
Just a bone of
try and refresh. Try and refresh your browser. You're having some problems. We'll come back.
The southern hemisphere of this show is
yeah. I'll also point out that Pete is also having some problems right now as well. Winter. That's why he's been so quiet this whole time. This is it happens. It's a live show. It's unfortunate.
It just means that me and Allison get to do all the talking.
That's fair. Oh gosh. Do y'all have anything to say about Matterhorn versus We the People, and how the Muppets are going to be slaughtered by a secret bobsled training facility? Ooh.
Yeah, totally.
Close to a runaway for Matterhorn.
Yeah,
that's
totally.
That's what we're dealing with.
I don't think anyone really. I think everybody's the argument has been, oh, there's another Muppets attraction, and that's the one that's going to go all the way. That and Tom's crazy passion for the secret Swiss bobsled training facility, I think is, I think it's not gonna be close. I think Matterhorn's gonna run away with this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then we've got in the last chunk here, the 1980 Space Pavilion versus the UK Enchanted Forest, and Mel Brooks's golf cart ride versus Herbie the Love Bug. Starting with the Space Pavilion and Enchanted Forest fight, that both these fights seem like they're going to be really tight, but I really want to see Enchanted Forest come away with this, because we do not have enough Robin Hood representation in these parks. I would love to see anything that puts more of that there, and honestly, just having like nice, solidly themed areas with characters in them is something that we just don't have a lot of in the parks in general. Like, we've tried doing that a couple times, and we've never, like, I guess, fully put forth an effort. Like, we put forth half an effort with, like, the Brave meet and greet, and, like, Pixie Hollow kinda sorta got a thing. But I would love to see what, like, an area dedicated to, like, all right, these are these, like, fantastic characters from British literature and British movies. Let's run with that. I would love to see what that ends up being.
It's going to be so close. I think that is such a great argument for it, but at the same time, there's so much nostalgia for the feel of original 1980s Epcot, and what could have rounded out, like, the Epcot of 1982 more than a 1980s Space Pavilion. It's like, I can't imagine anything. Yeah. So I think because of that, it's going to be a really tight race, basically, like, Disney feeling characters versus people who are like, no, we want Epcot to be Epcot and not be representative of any animated movie, even if it's something we think is underrepresented in the rest of the Disney parks.
Yeah, that's fair, but I feel like this could be like the one time that they get away with it almost. Like, if they tied that in well,
so
like
well.
It wouldn't. Yeah, it wouldn't feel like a sore thumb.
I'd love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, they got away with it with Donald in Mexico. Sorry.
Yeah.
No, I think it's going to be close, though, and I think I'm going to be sad no matter which one loses, because I really like both of these ideas a lot. They're probably two of the ones I feel like most, I don't know, this weird sort of nostalgic, that would be so lovely kind of feeling towards. Like, the rest, like, that would be cool or fun, but these are just like, these would be lovely, and they would make Epcot feel more like Epcot, especially at a time where I think Epcot is, moving away from what it used to be. So I'll be sad no matter which one wins and which one loses.
And then there's, of course, Springtime for Mel Brooks versus the ride that cuts your legs off. So, is Herbie going to pull this off, or are people going to get talked out of Herbie just because of that sheer hazard? Also, welcome back, Rob.
Sorry. I blame coronavirus, by the way, because I feel like every neighbor I have is streaming 82 things at once. So,
yep, that'll do it.
I think that's probably the problem. I yell at everyone in the house and tell them not to use anything. But so sorry about that. But I the Mel Brooks thing, I agree. Again, it goes back to what people keep saying about, would it be overlaid already? Probably. I think that Herbie, if it worked, which I think it could have, is a beloved Disney IP that has never really had a good place in the parks. A lot of people are joking about the Lindsay Lohan movie and all that other stuff. I mean, it had five movies, and so I think that Herbie kind of deserves some place in the park. This attraction, though, I mean, even if it had just been a Cars attraction, it still would have been great.
That's fair.
Yeah, I don't know. I think Mel Brooks is going to take this, though. And again, that's not my feeling. That's what
what you think the panel.
That's the vibe I got from the panel. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Boo.
And,
personally, I don't care for either of these rides.
Yeah, it's fair.
Diffendall, I swear.
real quick to close the night out. Who do you think's going to be the final two, and who do you think's going to win? Like, let's just go around the room real quick. I guess, like, start. I think Jill, you've probably, like, said yours at one point already.
Yeah, I think it's going to be Western River versus Muppets, and I think Western River's going to win.
Since I had to close everything out, Dick Tracy is in a different bracket than, like, I don't know how Dick Tracy could go, how far it could go, and Western River.
That could be finals. Western River and Dick Tracy could be the final match.
Yeah. You know what? I love the Muppets just because, again, it was an attraction that, you know, they were supposed to add the Toontown and the Muppet stuff to Hollywood Studios, and it was going to be amazing, and it never happened. They advertised it. They talked about it in TV specials. It was going to be a cool thing. So I definitely would like to see Muppets go to the final one, but I would not be surprised if somehow Dick Tracy makes it to the finals versus Western River, but it has to be Western River in the final two and Western River to win it.
Tricky Dick could pull something off.
Easy.
I agree, Western River, but I think maybe Matterhorn, especially with Tom's love of the secret Swiss bobsled training facility. And ultimately, like, how could Western River not win? But I feel like we're all saying that, and it's March Madness, and something insane is going to happen. So maybe it's going to be # Fort Wilderness Funhouse.
Or Herbie. Herbie could go all the way.
I was just about to buck everybody saying it was going to be Western River by saying it's going to be Great Muppet Movie Ride. I think that we're going to have Western River Expedition fight the Great Muppet Movie Ride in the semis. Muppets might pull it off. Probably going to take a lot of call-in support to do it, but I could see it happening. And then it's going to be that up against Dick Tracy in the finals. For that, I don't know.
Wait, it can't be Muppets against Dick Tracy in the finals.
Can't it be? Am I looking at this
No,
wrong?
it will be Muppets against Dick Tracy in the semifinals.
Final four.
That doesn't look... No, it could be them in the finals.
That's not the way my bracket's set up.
Let me pull up the bracket here. So the Great Muppet Movie Ride is right here in this chunk that I'm highlighting. Dick Tracy's is right below it.
I thought you said Dick Tracy and Mel Brooks.
No, I said I was trying to say the Muppet Movie Ride and Dick Tracy.
That's so weird. So my bracket has them in opposite. I printed a bracket like an old lady, and mine has it. Wait, let me move it the right way.
The focus is hard, but
so Dick Tracy is down. Dick Tracy's over here.
Yeah.
And Muppets is up here. I'm totally moving this the wrong way. Muppets is up here, which means they would go head to head over here.
Neat.
Yeah.
We might have just live on air discovered an inconsistency in the brackets.
So yeah,
It's
we're
possible
gonna.
that Bill has an earlier version of a bracket.
Oh yeah, we did have an
Maybe
internal one. It might have shuffled since then.
I think it did.
I think
my brackets
Tom
are
says
wrong.
Your brackets are wrong.
That's cool. We will get that updated.
Which hasn't affected anything to this point. It's just
it's just that the final four is really where that's going to factor in. Everything else has been fine so far. Okay, then in that case, I honestly have no idea. I do not know what's going to happen in the end here. But I guarantee you,
Matterhorn. I was going to say I think Matterhorn could that could be kind of the upset next week is they could maybe have Matterhorn overtake Dick Tracy, and at that point it's going to be a little bit strange at the end. So
I think that's going to be a super contentious matchup. Matterhorn versus Dick Tracy is going to be super contentious.
Yeah,
I could see that.
And the other thing I think, so the way I think all of us have been talking about this has been about how we think the panel's going to vote, but when you factor in audience call-ins, anything's possible, as Cosmic Rays demonstrated last year.
Oh my gosh.
I don't think that's gonna. I think that could cause some serious disruption in as far as what wins by the panel, and and Allison's there. Yes, that is how the Funhouse is going to get through.
How many
it's going to take a lot
have?
of work to do it, though. The votes this year are a lot smaller than they were in years past for the call-ins, so it's going to take some work.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that
too.
it needs concerted effort, and that it's not so easy to sway, because gosh, that Cosmic Rays thing, that was a travesty.
I mean, is there a Cosmic Rays though in this last bit? I mean,
not anymore. Plectus is dead.
I mean, most of these things I think everybody's had a good argument for at this point, So just again, looking back through them, I mean, I don't think any of these are horrible ideas. I mean, Fantasia Gardens, I think would have been cool just because, again, huge Disney IP with very little representation in the parks. We talked about Mount Fuji and Atlantis and how cool they would be, and of course the Before Wilderness Funhouse. I mean, obviously, Muppet Ride. I mean, all of these seem like something that wouldn't be I think too bad to be in the end, except for the Mel Brooks golf cart ride. And again, I like Mel Brooks, but if I was like dreaming of a Disney attraction that hadn't been made to be made, that wouldn't be the one.
That's
not
fair.
Over some of these others that like the Muppets or Western River. Yeah, exactly. So I mean, it feels wrong, no matter how cool it might be to see Mel Brooks. It would feel wrong to see that one even in the Final Four.
Yeah, I agree. Well, whatever happens tomorrow night, we will be back next week to talk about it here. And that is going to do it for tonight's show. So thank you all for joining us. You can't quite head to the parks right about now, unfortunately. But hopefully you will be able to soon. And once you do, we highly recommend that you folks contact Never Grow Up Vacations, who are the official travel partner of WDWNT. Never Grow Up Vacations is an authorized Disney vacation planner whose focus is in making magic for their clients, and with over 20 years of experience booking Disney vacations, we're sure they can help you make your next trip even more magical. So head on over to WDWNT.travel to contact them about your next trip today. Like I already said, tomorrow night, assuming you're watching this live, at 9 p.m. on Thursday the 26th, we are going to be having the finals of March Madness, finding out who wins this whole shebang. So tune in live, 9 p.m. Eastern Time, to find that on youtube.com/WDWNT or the WDWNtunes.com, and you can head over there and find it there too. That is going to do it for this week. We do have a post show, so if you are Wig, stick around for that. If you don't know what I'm talking about, head on over to patreon.com/WDWNT. For as little as $2 a month, you can become a member of the WDWNT Interglobe Society, or WIGS for short. Get access to our post show, the post show for News Tonight, and a whole host of other benefits. So I recommend you check that out if you haven't yet. Patreon.com/WDWNT. All right. Thank you all for watching, and we will see you all next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Wait a minute. 6 feet distance, please.